There was one question my wife waited nearly 40 years to ask. When she finally asked it, I realized. I had spent our entire marriage believing love meant providing everything, while completely missing the one thing she needed most. My name is David. I'm 68 years old, retired from the fire department. And until recently I thought I had lived a good life. I worked hard. Paid every bill on time. Never missed a mortgage payment. Raised 2 wonderful daughters. Spoiled 5 grandchildren. I believed that was what being a good husband meant. Then one quiet autumn evening, my wife Emily looked at me across our back porch and asked, "David, if you had to choose between the place you built your life and the place that built you, which would you choose?" I didn't know how to answer. Because I had never imagined she had been asking herself that same question for almost 40 years. I met Emily in 1985. I was stationed with the U.S. Navy in England for a temporary assignment. She worked in a small bookstore near Portsmouth. She loved old novels, rainy afternoons, and tea that was always too hot to drink. I loved coffee, baseball, and pretending I understood British humor. We couldn't have been more different. Yet somehow, every free afternoon found me wandering into that bookstore. Sometimes I'd buy a book. Most of the time I simply wanted another excuse to talk to her. 1 year later we were married. She left England with 2 suitcases, a box of family photographs, and a promise that we'd visit often. Back then, I honestly believed we would. Life had other plans. America welcomed her kindly. She learned to drive on the opposite side of the road. Learned Thanksgiving recipes. Started saying cookies instead of biscuits. She even learned to enjoy football, although she still insisted soccer was the better game. We bought a small house outside Denver. Raised our daughters. Built careers. Celebrated birthdays. Buried parents. Watched grandchildren arrive. Life became wonderfully busy. So busy that years quietly disappeared. Every Christmas Emily hung one decoration before any other. A tiny wooden angel. I'd asked once where it came from. My grandmother carved it, she said. Every year she'd unwrap it carefully. Smile. Hang it on the tree. Then quietly stare at it for a few seconds before walking away. I never asked why. Every Sunday morning she called England. Sometimes she'd laugh until tears rolled down her face. Other times she'd simply listen. After hanging up she'd always say, "They're all doing well." Then she'd go about her day. I never realized how much those calls meant. Retirement finally arrived. For months we talked about road trips. Fishing. Buying an RV. Seeing every national park we'd missed. One evening she asked, "What if we spent 6 months in England?" I laughed. Why? Our family is here. Our friends are here. Our doctors are here. Our whole life is here. She nodded. You're right. Then she never mentioned it again. But something inside me had changed. I started noticing little things. She still listened to British radio every morning. She still baked the same meat pies her mother taught her. She still watched old videos of villages where she'd grown up. She never complained. She simply remembered. One rainy afternoon I found an old notebook while cleaning the attic. Inside were letters. Dozens of them. Letters Emily had written to her parents. Some had never even been mailed. One line stopped me cold. I don't regret leaving. I only wish missing home didn't feel like betraying the life I've built. I read that sentence 5 times. Then I quietly closed the notebook. For the first time, I understood. She had spent nearly 4 decades loving 2 homes at once. That evening I made dinner. Nothing fancy. Just grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup. After we finished eating I asked, "Do you miss England every day?" She smiled. "Not every day." She paused. "But every part of me misses something." That answer broke my heart. Not because she blamed me. Because she never had. The next month I surprised her. Let's go. She looked confused. Go where? Home. She cried before saying a single word. We rented a small cottage in the English countryside for 3 months. I expected to enjoy the scenery. Instead, I watched my wife become 25 years younger. She walked confidently through streets she'd memorized as a child. Neighbors remembered her. Old classmates hugged her. The bakery owner still knew her favorite pastry. She laughed differently there. Freer. Lighter. Like someone who no longer had to explain herself. One afternoon we visited the cemetery where her parents rested. She placed fresh flowers beside their headstones. Then quietly whispered, "I'm home." Standing a few feet away, I realized something. Home isn't always where your children live. Sometimes it's where your memories still breathe. When we returned to America, our daughters asked, "So, was it worth it?" I smiled. It wasn't a vacation. It was an apology I didn't know I owed. Emily squeezed my hand. 40 years earlier she'd crossed an ocean for me. Retirement finally gave me the chance to cross one for her. A year later we sold our house. Kept a small apartment near our daughters for long visits. And made England our permanent home. People still ask whether I miss America. Of course I do. My grandchildren are there. My memories are there. Part of my heart will always stay there. But another part finally learned something love had been trying to teach me all along. Marriage isn't about asking one person to carry every sacrifice. It's about taking turns carrying each other's dreams. For 40 years, Emily carried mine. Now, it's my turn to carry hers. And I have never felt more at home.